She accidentally sits at the wrong table. Discover the incredible billionaire ready for true love. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the laughter of regulars in the vibrant Chicago café. It was a perfect afternoon, and Sarah's heart beat in time with the clinking of cups and the rush of warm light pouring through the large bay windows. She moved with purpose, pouring lattes with a flair only honed through years of practice, wearing her dreams like a badge beneath her faded apron. But the truth was, each day behind the counter made the distance to her dreams feel wider. On that day, amidst her colorful eclectic customers, Sarah stumbled upon a table marked with a reserved sign, where sat Jack, unbeknownst to her, the reclusive billionaire. With tousled dark hair and eyes that seemed to hide the weight of the world, he was lost in thought, wondering if love could ever breach the fortress he had built around himself. There was something about Sarah that caught his eye, her effortless ease making the ordinary seem extraordinary, even as her spirit was weighed down by the dream she desperately clutched. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, her voice bright, laced with the belief that even the busiest days could swirl with spontaneity. Jack looked up, surprise mixed with intrigue. "Sure," he replied, a faint smile flickering across his face as they talked. A curious connection ignited. Jack shared stories of boardrooms and the relentless pressure of expectations, while Sarah painted vivid pictures of her dreams, each stroke of her brush chipping away at the mundane life she led. Their laughter rippled with warmth, breaking through invisible barriers. Yet as their worlds collided, so did the whispers of Jack's friends. Judgments hung thick like smoke. Their glances sharpened the air between them. "Look at this," one murmured, arcing an eyebrow as they flicked disdainful glances toward Sarah. The laughter faded, and an awkward silence washed over the table, seeping into Sarah's spirit. A familiar tightness gripped her chest. Could she ever be enough? "I'm just a barista," she heard her inner voice say, a painful reminder of the societal chasm that lay between them, brightening her doubt as the disapproval loomed. Jack felt the weight of his own existence settle painfully in his gut. Was he merely a puppet in a play scripted by wealth? It was a question that haunted him, and as he looked at Sarah, he knew he was drawn to her authenticity. Yet he felt the gnawing worry of his elite friends' opinions tugging at his resolve. Just then, before any of them could recover from a moment of tension, the world outside their bubble crashed into their reality. A scandal erupted on social media, thrusting Jack into the spotlight, threatening to expose everything he wanted to hide. The pressure mounted. Sarah's insecurities flared as she faced the possibility of judgment, wondering if their connection was destined to shatter. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the weight of expectation loomed large between them, Jack's heart battled his mind. Would he choose the gilded cage of wealth or take the leap into the unknown, where real connections lay? With everything hanging by a thread, the question remained. Could Sarah and Jack, two souls from different worlds, navigate through the storm threatening to tear them apart? As Sarah fought against the tide of self-doubt, Jack desperately searched for a way to validate the connection they both craved, even if it meant shattering everything he thought he needed. The cafe buzzed with life, but for Sarah, the laughter and chatter faded into a distant hum. Her heart raced, caught in the chaos of Jack's sudden celebrity fallout. She glanced at him, his face a mask of uncertainty, shadows dancing across his features. What did the scandal mean for them? Jack's phone buzzed relentlessly on the table, a constant reminder of the world waiting outside. He picked it up, his brow furrowing as he scrolled. "I'm sorry," he began, but the words faltered, lost in a web of notifications. It felt as if every glance around the cafe only served to magnify the gulf between their lives, the rich and the barista. Was this to be just a fleeting moment? A careless brush against each other's worlds destined to vanish? Something inside Sarah shifted. She could feel the familiar grip of self-doubt tightening around her heart. It screamed louder than the laughter that had just filled the air, echoing in her mind. "You don't belong here," it whispered. She pressed her lips together, determined to shake off the nagging voice, to find a way back to the connection they had forged. fleeting as it might be. Jack, she said finally, her voice steadier than she felt. What if we just ignore all of this? She gestured vaguely around them. For a moment? Her hope clung to the air between them like the scent of coffee beans. His gaze lifted from the screen, softening as he met her eyes. You're right, he breathed, relief washing over him, fighting against the tide of pressure from before. For an instant the world faded. The room spun silently, and they were cast adrift, the reverberating noise of judgment dulled to a whisper. Tell me about your dreams, he urged, poised on the edge of her spirit, eager to explore the landscape of her heart. And just like that, Sarah was swept into the warmth of the moment, her worries pushed aside as vibrant stories spilled from her lips. She shared her desire to paint, to travel the world, to capture the beauty in fleeting moments just like this. Jack listened intently, his eyes widening with fascination as she spoke. Each word she poured out felt like a brushstroke, crafting a beautiful vision filled with color and passion. Do you really think you can make it? He asked, a serious edge creeping into his tone. It was a simple question, yet it held a weight that sank her heart. In the light of his gaze, her dreams felt more fragile than ever. Sarah hesitated, her confidence wavering. I want to believe that, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But sometimes I wonder if I even belong in that world. Jack leaned in, his heart aching for her vulnerability. You do belong, Sarah. Dreaming big isn't reserved for the wealthy. It's for anyone brave enough to chase it down. Just as they began to bridge the distance between their worlds, a loud commotion erupted at the door. A group of Jack's friends stormed in, expressions sharp with irritation. They had come to pull him back, to sever the connection that was just forming. Sarah's heart sank as his friends locked eyes on her, wary of the budding relationship they didn't understand. Jack, what are you doing? One shouted, pointing at her with a finger that felt like a sword. You can't be serious. This isn't you. Jack's face turned pale, caught between loyalty and longing. The laughter and chatter swirled back into focus, weaving through the tension, suffocating the moment. 1,000 questions swirled in the air, but one rang loudest in Sarah's mind. Would he stand for them, for what they could be, or would he retreat to the safety of his world? She held her breath, waiting for his response. The glimmer of hope mingled with the fear that this was the end of their brief connection. Would Jack have the courage to step out of the shadows? And would Sarah dare to believe in her dreams once more? Or would she let them slip away? Jack's expression twisted, an internal battle playing out in the lines of his jaw. The noise of his friends rose, chatter mingling with laughter tinged with disbelief. Sarah felt a swirl of disappointment, her spirit dipping low as she realized they weren't just here to reclaim Jack. They meant to dismantle whatever fragile bond they had forged, to recage him. Jack stammered, glancing between Sarah and the faces that surrounded him. It was as if time had paused, the room feeling simultaneously oppressive and electric. All those dreams they had spoken about, could they survive this? Come on, man. You're not serious about her? Another friend, a tall guy with slick hair and a sardonic grin, shoved his hands into his pockets, rolling his eyes as if he had seen this all before. With every second that passed, Sarah's heartbeat quickened, a mix of anxiety and anger boiling within her. She met Jack's gaze, willing him to see her, to remember the warmth of their earlier conversation, but all she could read was the uncertainty clouding his face. I care about her, Jack finally said, less a statement of conviction and more a weak plea that barely pierced the air. His voice faltered under the pressure, the warmth they had just shared slipping away, like sand through fingers. Caring? Really? Scoffed the friend. This isn't a naive romance novel, Jack. This is real life. You're better than this. You know that. Sarah forced herself to breathe, feeling stinging tears rise to her eyes. She blinked them back, refusing to let them fall in front of these men who couldn't see beyond their privilege. Was she just a passing fancy? The sudden thought stung more than anything. Let him speak. She blurted out, emboldened. Jack, what is it? Do you want me here? The question hung heavy in the air, raw and honest. The room quieted, all eyes pinned on him now. She could see the way his friends shifted, prepared for a response they desperately hoped wouldn't come. But she had to know. Deep down she had already stepped off the ledge, and she needed to know if he would jump with her, or pull back. Jack's eyes met hers, and for a heartbeat the chaos faded. I don't care about what they think, he whispered fiercely. This isn't about them. It's about you and me. Relief surged in Sarah. Warmth pulsed through her, igniting something she thought had lost its spark. But it was short-lived as doubts crept back. But what does this mean? Can you really be here with me? Her voice trembled, filled with the edge of hope and fear. Before Jack could answer, a new figure stepped into their orbit, startling Sarah from her thoughts. A woman with an air of confidence swaggered into the café, her designer bag swinging as if it had a life of its own. She scanned the room, her eyes finally landing on Jack, and an unpleasant smile washed across her face. Jack, there you are, she called, her voice too bright, slicing through the tension like a knife. I've been looking everywhere for you. We need to talk about the party tonight. Sarah felt her heart drop. Another layer of complication. Another whisper of this world pulling Jack away from her. The kinetic energy in the cafe shifted once more, the uncertainty becoming a palpable entity that swept through everyone present. Jack's eyes darted between Sarah and the new arrival, confusion painted all over his features. Wait, Emily, come on. Don't leave me hanging. Everyone's waiting, she insisted, stepping closer, an invisible barrier forming around them that felt impenetrable. In that moment, the hope Sarah clung to began to splinter. Was this just another way to tug at Jack, to pull him back to the life she'd thought he wanted to escape? Would he really choose the glitz over the quiet possibility she offered, or would he rise to claim his own desires? Jack hesitated, caught in a web of loyalty and longing. He looked at Sarah, desperation etched in his expression, and for the first time the choice seemed impossible. What would he choose? And more importantly, what would it mean for Sarah's own dreams if he walked away? Jack's breath quickened as he grappled with the weight of Emily's presence. She had always been the confident one, the shining star of their social circle, the kind of girl who could command a room with just a smile. And here she was now, pulling at the threads of doubt he had been trying to unravel. Emily, he stumbled, words dragging, but the urgency in her eyes silenced him. Let us go. We can't keep everyone waiting, can we? She gestured dramatically, her voice cutting through the murmur of growing tension. Sarah's heart sank as she watched Jack wrestle internally, glancing nervously at Emily and then back to her. Was this the moment where he'd decide that the pull of popularity was too strong? Did she represent just a fleeting change in direction in his life, an adventure he had but couldn't sustain? Jack, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. What do you want? He paused, his brow furrowing. For a brief second, silence enveloped them both, isolating the chaos around like a shroud. Really, Jack, you're going to choose this? Emily interjected, her tone dripping with condescension, as if seeing her influence suddenly challenged by a girl like Sarah was laughable. Jack opened his mouth and Sarah felt the tremors of impatience from his friends nearby, nudging him toward the decision that would keep the group intact. Yet beneath it all, she sensed an undercurrent of something deeper, a yearning he had only begun to tap into. Listen, he finally said, turning sharply to Emily. I want to talk to Sarah. His voice was steady, a spark igniting amidst the uncertainty. I need a minute. The room held its breath. Emily's smile faltered, and the air turned taut. Are you serious? You can't be that naive, Jack. You're throwing away something real. Her words lingered, and Sarah felt the heat of them burn. Was she really just a fleeting moment in Jack's life? But there was a stronger wave, a rush of determination flooding through her. She wouldn't stand idly by while everyone else dictated her worth, while they drowned Jack's heart with their ridiculing laughter. Jack, she called out, her heart pounding louder than her words. I'm not going anywhere if you don't want me to. Vulnerability washed over her, and every ounce of fear gushed forth, echoing the depth of her feelings. Just choose. Jack looked at her, and in that moment she could see him shifting. The resolute look took shape on his features, illuminating a direct line to his heart. He took a small step toward her and pushed back against the weight of Emily and his friends. You know what? He said, his voice rising, arms outstretched as if he were breaking free of chains. I don't want to talk about parties or what they think. I want to talk about us. Gasps rippled through their little circle of friends. Emily's face contorted in disbelief, and the instant murmurs of dissent began filling the air around them. Yet, in this moment Jack hadn't faltered. The uncertainty that had clung to him began to wash away. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat, hope and fear battling once more. Would this be the turning point, or an inevitable return to the past? The noise faded, and all that remained was the intensity of Jack's gaze. Then what do we do? She asked, desperation coloring her tone. But before Jack could respond, a harsh laugh erupted from their friends, crashing into the fragile bubble that had formed. That's all cute and everything, but do you really think you can keep him? It was the same friend from earlier, his tone mocking. Shut up. Jack snapped, surprising himself as much as everyone else. He turned back to Sarah, as if her presence had fortified his resolve. But in the depths of her heart, she worried it wouldn't last. Emily crossed her arms, a smirk returning to her face. He can't resist the life laid out for him, Sarah. You think this is just going to go away? Jack opened his mouth to speak again, but this time there was a charged intensity in the air. The question loomed larger than before. Where did they go from here? Was their bond strong enough to withstand the storm? Could he really defy the expectations set upon him? Jack hesitated once more. The intentions tangled as the world around them grew quieter. But one thing was clear: this decision would shape not only their future, but the very essence of what love means. What would Jack ultimately choose, and would it push Sarah away, or bring them closer together? The weight of the silence stretched on, all eyes pinned to Jack and Sarah, anticipation crackling in the air like static before a storm. Jack swallowed hard, his mind racing as he fought a duel within himself, balancing on the thin edge between what Emily represented and the honesty his heart screamed for. Jack, Sarah said again, her voice shaking but resolute, I chose to be here with you. You're not alone in this. A part of him longed to let that warmth wash over him, to let go and embrace the moment they were creating. But fear, that old familiar companion, clawed at his insides. He had always cared what people thought. Being part of the popular crowd was like a lifeline in the tumultuous waters of high school, a security blanket he couldn't afford to toss aside. Emily stepped closer, her tone turning urgent, almost desperate. Jack, come on. You've got everyone here looking to you, wanting to celebrate. You're really going to throw that away? You think she can give you what this life does? No, Jack exclaimed, fire igniting behind his eyes. It's not about that. It's about me, my choice. Not theirs. His friends shifted uneasily, caught off guard by the sudden intensity branching out from Jack. It felt surreal, as if the very ground they stood on trembled beneath their feet. Sarah's heart slowed just a beat, a flicker of hope igniting with Jack's fierce declaration. Her gaze softened, reaffirming the path they stood on together, the raw honesty enveloping them both like a protective shield. You really mean that? She whispered, searching for his eyes, wanting to seize the moment between them. Yeah, he said, breathless. For the first time, the clarity of his feelings cut through the haze. I want to see where this goes, to figure things out with you. The tension around them melted into something lighter, a shared breath of relief letting out amidst the lingering doubts. Emily's expression shifted. The smirk faded, morphing into a hard line. This wasn't an easy loss for her, and something deep down told him she wouldn't let it slide. Fine, she shot back, cool detachment slipping into her voice. Have fun while it lasts, Jack. I'm sure you'll realize this was just a reckless decision. Social circles get messy and love doesn't fix that. Her words stung, but Jack stood firm, the blush of anger flickering beneath his skin. It wasn't just about choosing Sarah in this moment, it was about reclaiming his own identity. One that wasn't defined by Emily or the expectations of their friends. He turned to Sarah, searching her eyes for assurance. We can navigate whatever comes next. Together? The warmth of her smile ignited something within him. Together. But before they could celebrate this newfound resolve, a sudden loud crack of laughter echoed from the periphery. Oh please, this is going to be a train wreck. Better go find some popcorn. Someone jeered from their friend group, and a ripple of cruel chuckles broke out among them. Jack clenched his fists, anger surging again. You don't get it. This isn't a joke. We're trying to figure this out. Fine, figure it out, Jack, Emily interrupted. But you'll see. Just remember, you can't change who you are to cater to a fleeting moment. The room grew tense again, and Jack felt the weight of 1,000 expectations pushed down upon him. The world they had built together threatened to crumble under the pressure, and he wondered if he'd been naive to think that standing up for what he wanted could keep the walls from closing in. Why can't you just let it be? He asked Emily, frustration rippling through him. Because this is reality, Jack. Welcome back to it. Sarah tightened her grip on his arm as a chorus of murmurs surrounded them. Fear prickled at the edges of hope. Would their moment of defiance hold as the stakes rose? Jack looked back at Sarah, uncertainty flickering in his gaze. Was he strong enough to face what lay ahead? Would love really be all they needed to break free from the chains of conformity? The room pulsed like a living entity, and the answer hung in the balance, tantalizingly out of reach. But just as the heaviness threatened to pull him under, he could feel something warm unfolding inside him, urging him to take the next step. Maybe they were meant to carve their own path, one that could withstand the storm brewing around them. All right, let us take that next step, he murmured, determination simmering just below the surface. But would they be ready for the backlash? Would they really have the strength to defy everything they knew? The laughter echoed, slicing through the air, taking the warmth Jack had felt moments before. People were shifting, their gazes darting between him, Sarah, Emily, and now the new center of attention, the table full of kids eager to see a show. He could practically feel their judgment hanging around him like a thick fog. The reality of the moment sank deeper. Choosing Sarah meant stepping directly into the spotlight and facing the consequences head-on. Let us go, Sarah said suddenly, her voice determined yet soothing. She stepped closer, putting a reassuring hand on Jack's shoulder. I don't want to stay here just to give them a show. Jack's stomach twisted, not just from the laughter but from sheer panic. Part of him felt defeated, but another part, a stronger one, wanted to push forward, to show everyone that love, even in its messy state, mattered more than surface-level opinions. Yeah, he said, almost whispering. Let us go. They turned away from the group, the chaos behind them fading as they navigated towards the outskirts of the gathering. There was a little corner of the room that seemed less structured, hazy lights, soft music, but it felt liberated, like stepping off a tightrope. Without the weight of the crowd, Jack felt lighter. With Sarah by his side, everything seemed more manageable. He dared a glance at her, and for a brief second, the noise around them faded away. She looked radiant, a grin breaking across her face that pushed away the earlier shadows. You handled that really well, Jack. Her eyes sparkled with admiration, and he felt the warmth spread through his chest. Thanks, he chuckled nervously. It felt like standing on a cliff, though. And you jumped, she teased, nudging him playfully. That's a huge leap. They settled into a corner booth, the atmosphere immediately softer. The air was filled with the smell of popcorn and nachos, the muffled laughter of other students tracing around them. For a moment, Jack could almost imagine there wasn't a world of expectation outside this bubble they created. Are you really okay with all this? Jack asked, curiosity tinged with concern lacing his voice. I mean, putting yourself out there is one thing, but he hesitated. This isn't easy. Sarah's expression shifted. Her gaze turned serious, grounding him. I mean, yes, it's intimidating. I'm scared too, but you know what? I'd rather take a risk now than live with regrets later. This celebration of life is for us, not just for the crowd. Her conviction fueled something deep inside Jack. Yeah, we deserve this, don't we? To see where it goes. Exactly, she replied, her smile returning brighter now. And who knows? We might just surprise them all. Before he could respond, laughter erupted from the adjacent table. Jack glanced over to see a small group still fixed on them. A mix of disbelief and pity painted across their faces. A wave of determination washed over him. Well, if they want a show, maybe we'll give them one. He reached across the table, taking Sarah's hand, squeezing it firmly. Together, right? Together. The flames of defiance ignited within them, igniting the air above their clasped hands. In that moment, something shifted. Jack could feel the tentative threads of their connection weaving tighter, even as uncertainty loomed just outside their sanctuary. But before he could get lost in that thought, the familiar voice of Emily drifted from somewhere behind them. Are you guys really doing this? Her tone dripped with mockery, challenges lacing her words. You think they'll let you off that easy? Jack's heart raced at the interruption. How far would they have to go to prove their commitment? His hand tightened around Sarah's, emboldened by the promise he saw in her eyes. Would they step even further into the unknown? Would they turn their love into something that could withstand everything thrown at them? Jack's heart pounded in his chest. Emily's laughter felt like cold water splashed on a warm summer day, abruptly jolting him from their moment of connection. He turned, ready to defend their choice, but before he could find the right words, Sarah spoke up. "What do you mean, Emily?" Her voice was steady, but Jack could hear the slight tremor beneath. Emily leaned against the booth, arms crossed, surrounded by her entourage. "You think this is some kind of fairy tale? They won't just let you walk away with this together nonsense. You're their punchline." The laughter echoed again, ringing louder in Jack's ears, a reminder of the discomfort they tried to escape. But he sensed something shifting inside him, a steeliness forming. "Maybe we're more than just a punchline, Emily," Jack said, meeting her gaze with a fierce determination. "Maybe you should try seeing it that way too." Emily blinked, surprised by his sudden bravery, but she quickly regained her composure. "Okay, Romeo. Keep dreaming. Just don't expect them to root for you when you take a dive." For a moment the air felt thick with tension. Jack's cheeks burned, but he held onto Sarah's hand, reveling in the warmth of her palm against his. They were standing together, not just with each other but against the storm that was Emily and her friends. "Let's show them what we're made of," Jack whispered, his resolve growing stronger. "Exactly," Sarah replied, her confidence rising to meet his. "We're not here for their approval." As they sat at their booth, the soft music swirling around them began to feel like their own private anthem. Jack glanced at Sarah, who was scanning the room with a newfound boldness. An idea sparked in his mind. "What if we do something crazy?" he suggested, excitement bubbling within him. "What if we go dance? Right here, right now?" Her eyes lit up and she bit her lip, holding back a laugh. "You mean right in front of the audience? Why not? They want a show, let us give them one." With a sudden burst of energy, Jack stood up, tugging Sarah gently by the hand. "Come on. We can't let them think we're afraid." They stepped into the small dancing area, surrounded by buzzing chatter and curious glances. Jack could feel the heat of the room, but somehow it felt exhilarating rather than overwhelming. As they moved to the rhythm of the music, laughter from Emily and her group faded behind them, replaced by the pulse of their own joy. Jack found himself lost in the moment, eyes locked with Sarah's, their smiles spreading wide. But just as they began to let loose, an unexpected voice cut through the chatter. What a joke. It was Sam, one of Emily's followers, leaning against the bar with a smirk. "You really think you're gonna change anything?" That smirk ignited something deep within Jack. He clenched his jaw, refusing to let the doubt creep in. "We're changing everything," he declared, surprising himself as much as anyone else. "This is our moment." For a heartbeat he felt the weight of those words. It was raw and true. He spun Sarah around, a whirlwind of laughter and warmth, echoing defiance against the sneers of their peers. But even amidst their celebration, Jack knew the real challenge lay ahead. The crowd was watching, and Emily's laughter still lingered uncomfortably close. Would their bravery hold once it faced real resistance? As the music swelled around them, Jack took a breath, ready to fully embrace their transformation. But with every shaky step, uncertainty clawed at his resolve. Could they really turn this moment into something lasting? Would they find the courage to keep dancing through whatever came their way? The thought buzzed in Jack's head, making him wonder how far they could truly go together. The music thrummed on. Jack and Sarah spun and twirled, stepping into a rhythm that seemed to vibrate in their very bones. Each beat felt like a challenge, a dare to everyone watching them. With Emily's laughter still echoing in his mind, Jack could feel every eye in the room fixed upon them. He glanced back toward Emily's table, where her gaze was icy, arms crossed tighter than before. But Jack didn't allow her presence to dim their fire. He only tightened his grip on Sarah's hand, pulling her closer as they danced. It was just them in that moment. The noise of judgment became a distant hum, drowned out by the joy bubbling between them. "Can you believe this?" Jack shouted over the music, his eyes sparkling with mischief. The corners of Sarah's mouth pulled up in an infectious grin. "I don't care what they think. This is us," she shouted back, throwing her head back with laughter as she spun. The crowd began to cheer, some clapping along with the music. It was like the world around them melted away. Sarah felt free, her heart racing with exhilaration until she caught sight of Emily's annoyed expression. and for a heartbeat her joy faltered. Let them talk, Jack said softly, catching her glance. We're doing what makes us happy. That's all that matters. Then, a daring idea crept into Jack's mind. Let us switch it up, he exclaimed, invigorated. Let us show them a dance. With that, he swept Sarah into a more elaborate spin, and she gasped, laughter bursting forth and igniting something sparkly in the air. The energy in the room was palpable, but suddenly the music shifted. Jack's heart dropped as the heavy bass turned into a slow romantic ballad. Their movements slowed, transforming the wild dance into something tender. Faces in the crowd melted away, and there was only him and Sarah, wrapped up in each other's arms. Okay, I definitely didn't expect this dance at all, Sarah said, leaning into him. Me neither, Jack replied, the tension easing as he gazed into her eyes. But I'm glad it's with you. Just as he leaned in closer, ready to savor the magic of the moment, he caught movement out of the corner of his eye. Emily was rising from her seat, threading her way through the crowd, not toward them, but directly toward Sam. The moment felt suspended, and Jack's breath caught in his throat. The air changed. He turned back to Sarah, who looked worried as she followed his gaze. What is she doing? I don't know, Jack replied, anxiety coiling in his stomach. There was something about the way Emily moved now, her posture different, more assertive. It was as if she was done playing a game and ready to stake her claim. Sam seemed oblivious, smirking and throwing out casual remarks, but the tension grew. Jack squeezed Sarah's hand tighter, an unspoken promise buzzing between them. They didn't need to fear Emily's influence, this was their moment. Yet as Emily approached Sam, it dawned on Jack. Could she somehow twist their celebration into more chaos? Let us ignore them, Sarah said, her brow furrowed with concern. We can't let them ruin this. But as she spoke, they could hear Emily's voice rising above the others. You think they're serious? Like they stand a chance here? Jack's heart raced again, a mixture of defiance and worry battling inside him. He wanted to shield Sarah from the potential fallout, but time seemed to slow as he watched Emily's words cause ripples through the crowd. He opened his mouth to respond, feeling the weight of Emily's challenge, but the music faded out, and he knew the eyes of the crowd would turn. Would they rally behind their newfound bravery, or sink back into the old patterns that Emily reveled in? Just then, Jack spotted someone stepping out from the shadows, a tall, striking figure who seemed unfazed by the chaotic energy that divided the room. Something about him felt different, a spark that ignited curiosity. What if? Jack murmured, caught in a whirlpool of questions. Yeah, what if? Sarah pushed, observing the newcomer as he approached. The moment hung between them, a whisper of possibility slipstreaming past. Uncertainty. What weight could this unexpected figure bring? Would he be the answer to their struggle? Or just another twist in an already complicated tale? Jack could feel hope threading through the air. And as Sarah squeezed his hand tighter, they faced whatever lay ahead together. Jack and Sarah stood at the center of the dance floor, uncertainty clouding their moment of joy. The crowd, once vibrant with cheers, shifted in response to the tension that slipped in like an intruder. Jack could visibly see Emily's presence creating a ripple effect as whispers moved through the crowd. Had she really just cast doubt on them? He didn't have time to ponder it further. A new energy was approaching. The striking figure stepped closer, cutting through the tense atmosphere like a beacon. He was tall, with a commanding presence and an easy smile that seemed warm and inviting. Jack watched skeptically as the man broke through the crowd and finally reached them. He extended his hand, and a confident grin spread across his face. Hey there. You two look like you're in the midst of a battle against the world, he said, his voice smooth like silk. The smile hitched higher when he looked at Sarah. I must say you're winning. Jack narrowed his eyes, instinctively protective. And you are? Name's Rick. Just a friendly guy, you know? He chuckled lightly before introducing himself. I'm here to enjoy the evening, but it seems like I found the best spot on the floor. Jack exchanged glances with Sarah, who still appeared tense but intrigued. Yeah, well, we had things under control until... Jack started, but was cut off by another outburst of laughter from Emily's direction. And now I'm here to throw a little fun into the mix. You two have the best moves but seem a bit weighed down. Let us forget about the naysayers. Rick's excitement resonated, a hint of rebellion in the air. He leaned a bit closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. They wouldn't be no fun if it danced right in front of them. Jack felt a small crack form in his protective shell. If anyone could shift the mood, it might as well be this spontaneous energy. Sarah's eyes lit up, her smile growing broader, radiating warmth. "Hey Rick, what's your plan?" Jack challenged, finding a hint of ease in his own shoulders. He realized he was allowing himself to at least consider the possibility of letting go, if only for a moment. "First we need to change the tempo. Let us shake off this heavy vibe," Rick declared. In one fluid motion he twirled around, beckoning others to join them. Before Jack even realized it, drinks were being lifted, laughing faces swarming, and the dance floor was enveloped in a renewed energy. "Come on, let loose," Rick encouraged, spinning once more into the throng of dancers. He was pulling Sarah along, laughter spilling out like a fountain. Jack watched her bloom with delight, feeling lightheaded amidst all that chaos as people began to blend into the rhythm again. Jack gave in to the moment, letting himself smile at the absurdity of it all. But in the back of his mind, he couldn't ignore the nagging sensation that this whirlwind was merely a distraction. What would serve as the fallout when the laughter subsided? Rick, a strangely magnetic force, caught Jack's eye. "This is what life is about. You've got to grab it and shake it," he exclaimed, twirling Sarah again. She laughed, her joy infectious, but Jack couldn't forget how quickly life could shift. Then, out of nowhere, Emily's voice called out, sharper than before. "Rick, seriously? Like you think this can actually help them?" Jack felt the tension solidify again as all eyes pivoted back to where Emily stood, flanked by her small circle, smug and controlling. "So this is your game," Rick replied, his eyes narrowing just slightly, gauging Emily's authority. There was something in his demeanor that signaled he wasn't about to let her spoil what had started to rise again. Jack felt a rush of adrenaline, both from the music and the confrontation brewing before them. Did Rick know exactly who he was challenging? Or did he care? Somewhere in that question lay the heart of the evening, and Jack's own resolve hinged on how to counter this new threat. "Don't let her win," Sarah whispered to Jack, mirroring thoughts that buzzed in his brain. "Let us make this a night they won't forget," he replied, determination surging within. With that, Jack caught Rick's eye again, understanding flashing in that brief moment. Together, they could face anything, even Emily's poisonous words. But as the revelry continued and their perspective moved forward, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that Emily wasn't done yet. What would she do next, and who would truly come out on top in this battle for joy? The tension in the cafe seemed to hang like a fog, thick and heavy, yet Jack and Sarah stood shoulder to shoulder, discovering a strength they hadn't realized they possessed. The music thrummed beneath their feet, blending with the pulse of their newfound determination. Jack could see the energy shifting around them as laughter and cheers mixed with murmurs of disbelief. Sarah caught his gaze, eyes bright with defiance. "Let us dance like we own this place," she declared, a radiant smile breaking across her face. And with that, they dove back into the rhythm, their movements igniting something vibrant and free. Jack twirled Sarah, drawing her close again. "You're incredible, you know that?" he whispered, catching the glow of her spirit in that single moment, a spark fueling the fire between them. She laughed, a sound that lit up his world, chasing away any shadows that lingered. "Right back at you." The warmth in her eyes reassured him. They were together in this moment, undeterred by the chaos swirling around them. But Emily's taunts were relentless. "You really think this is going to change anything?" she shouted, forcing the crowd's attention to shift back in her favor. Jack felt a chill breeze through their cheerful oasis, but he refused to let her dampen their spirit. Ignoring her, he spun Sarah once again, their laughter ringing louder and clearer, resonating with everyone watching. Friends around them began to rally, breaking free from the constraints that had held them back. Soon it was not just Jack and Sarah dancing, they had transformed the atmosphere, drawing others into the warmth of their bravery. "Come on," Rick shouted, echoing their energy. "Let us show them how it's done." He led an impromptu dance-off, inviting anyone willing to join. Suddenly the crowd formed a loose circle, cheering them on. Emily scoffed, arms crossed, but even she couldn't maintain her smug demeanor as the tide shifted. Then, in a powerful collaborative move, the group swayed together, a unified front against the naysayers. Jack could feel Sarah's heartbeat in sync with his own, and it filled him with purpose. This wasn't just their moment, it was a symbol of strength for everyone witnessing it. This was love in motion, transforming every side glance into something that felt affirming and free. "Are you ready for this?" he asked Sarah as he caught her breath, their foreheads nearly touching. "More than ever," she whispered, and in that affirmation, he found his resolve crystallizing with one last burst of energy. Jack pulled Sarah into a slow, loving spin once more, lost in the tranquility of that moment amidst the chaos. The world around them faded. It was just them, a shared breath igniting between their warmth. But as the music serenaded them, Emily's impatience bubbled over hatefully. "This is a joke. It's embarrassing," she yelled, trying to tear down the walls they had built together. Jack turned to her, his voice steely but calm. "You don't get it. This is real." The truth in his words echoed through the room, silencing the doubt she sowed. "Real?" Emily's laughter was harsh, her sneer evident. "You really think this will last? Why does it have to end?" he challenged, feeling the tide of support swell behind him as whispers bounced from the crowd. "We're better together and we're living in the moment. Something you'll never understand," he added, glancing back at Sarah. But before Emily could retort, Rick jumped in, his exuberance restoring the focus. "Let us keep this celebration going." He beckoned everyone back into rhythm, the laughter ruling once more while Emily's lingering presence faded into disarray. Jack and Sarah stood firm, resolute in their bond. The world beyond the café melted away. "No matter what happens, I'll stand by you," Jack said, eyes steady, heart open. "I won't walk away either," Sarah replied, her voice a gentle anchor in the storm swirling outside their warmth. And so they danced. They danced against the weight of judgment, against the fading echoes of insecurity, choosing to embrace their paths, hand in hand, hearts intertwined. In that moment they transcended the chaos, claiming a love that would not only withstand the storm but could transform everything in its wake. As the final beat of the song echoed through the café, Jack and Sarah paused, breaths mingling in a sweet silence. They locked eyes, the world finally narrowing down to just them. "Together forever," Jack promised, a grin spreading across his face. "Together forever," Sarah echoed, and in that moment, they knew they had already won because love, true love, was about choosing each other amidst the noise. With one last glance at Emily, whose words had lost their sting as the crowd erupted into cheers, they stepped into the light, hearts alive with hope and the unshakable knowledge that they were finally free. Before you rush off, I need you to take action. If you loved this heartfelt journey, then you must subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Show your support now by slapping that like button to help feed the algorithm. We need you more than ever. Don't forget to comment below, sharing your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And true fans, this is the moment to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love.